Hello, everybody, and welcome to True Crime Banter, the podcast aimed at bringing you your dose of murder relaxation. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. There we go.
It's real. It's happening.
It is. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to reach the buttons there, but
You did it.
I did it. What are you drinking over there? What are you finishing up?
Nothing anymore.
It's like empty.
I know.
What was it?
Vodka soda.
Typical Christian.
I know. Like to
Typical
get straight
Christian.
to the point.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to episode 13. I do declare.
I do declare.
I should probably check on those.
I know.
Those things before I start recording.
Before you
but
start throwing it out
tis
there.
the life we live. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see we're still upgrading the setup. So
yeah, step
we're trying
by step.
things. We're doing different things. We got
You're right. It is episode 13.
Okay, what plant is this in the middle?
It's a succulent, sir.
Oh,
I know.
kind of sucks if you ask me.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Anyway.
I'm sorry, succulent. Anyways, today you wanna give them a little sneak peek of who or what we're talking about at all?
No.
Okay,
I
all
kind of
right.
just want to
Get right
surprise
into
you
it.
all.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I can get with that. Well,
After a bit of
before we
banter.
do, you got a couple people you want to shout out. On
Actually, honestly,
Instagrams.
just one.
okay, one person.
Just one person this time. It was, forgive me, everyone, I'm not prepared.
I know they were a Green Bay Packers fan. Was it like Michelle or something?
Uh-huh.
Michelle GB Packers, I think it was.
Michelle GB Packer fan. Good
There
job,
you go.
though. It's
See?
pretty good for your memory.
See?
She
doing well.
commented on our latest one, the Rachel Berkheimer one.
Okay.
She commented, she said, just listen to the latest podcast. Such a messed up story. I live in the lower valley of Washington, so I love hearing cases from here, especially ones I've never heard of. Rachel Berkheimer was an unknown to me, and I listened to and read a lot of true crime, so she sounds like us.
Well, good.
Thank you for being amazing podcasters from Washington. I look forward to your next ones.
Nice.
yeah.
Well, those are the things we like to hear because
I
obviously
love to hear.
there's a ton of true crime podcasts, TV shows, documentaries.
Yeah.
So many of them, and there's so many cases that still go unheard because they don't get they're not as quote unquote cool or interesting, so they don't get the limelight, I suppose, that some of the other ones do.
Right.
So I'm glad that we could bring
Yeah.
the Rachel Berkheimer story to light for at least
Yeah.
one person. Yeah. So that was thank you, Michelle.
I know, that was awesome.
Michelle again, right?
Mhm.
God, such a great memory.
Anyway.
Well, before we do get into your story that you have for us today,
Mm-hmm.
which is on, what is the person's name?
Sasha Samsudean.
Samsudean. Okay, you were giving me the notes on this earlier, and
Yeah.
I was like, how do you say that? But
I know.
or spell it.
Yeah.
And now I know.
Now you know.
Before we get into that, though, I'm going to go over a little bit of banter.
Little bit of banter.
Yes, and I don't actually have a ton. All I want to talk about right now is Jeffrey Bezos for the third straight up. No, just
Stop.
kidding.
Okay, I thought you were
Gotcha.
serious.
No,
I mean, whatever.
it is what it is.
There's
We
worse
could if we
things.
wanted to.
Yeah.
No, today I want to talk about a little incident that happened on my way home from work the other day
Oh.
that I thought was pretty cool.
Oh.
You don't.
Incident and cool usually don't go together,
Well,
so that worried me for a
It
minute.
is what it is. But
Okay.
on my way home from work, I stopped to get gas. Outrageous prices, as per usual.
Yeah.
But at this like Mobile One gas station, they have these new like LCD screens on the front, mostly for advertisements. I would guess they're probably trying to sell you on like Mobile One products as they sell inside the store itself. But on the little lower third of it, it had a missing persons case, and it was Oakley Carlson's picture.
Oh.
And I was like, damn, like
yeah.
I know that little girl. And I was like, one, kind of like, oh, that's cool. Like I
Yeah.
know of the case. Two, it's obviously sad to see.
Of course.
You know. But then three, I was like, 15, 20 years ago, you you couldn't have, it was like on milk cartons before.
Right. That was their version.
Yeah. And now it's like at the gas station pump. I'm like,
I know.
okay,
I know.
technology, man.
I know. It is cool. I know. Because if it wasn't her, obviously it would be another missing child, which is still super sad, but that's going to be utilized for anyone.
Yeah. No,
So,
exactly.
And because that is local, it makes sense. It's around here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, too, I don't know if you want to point out that if anybody hasn't listened to that one yet.
yes, go back,
We've
please.
done that
was
case
2 episodes ago, I believe.
Yeah. And then if you want just like a quick recap, I've also posted about it on our Instagram, too, if you want to just like read about it. But
that
I've
is
done
one,
that case.
Another thing I wanted to bring up real quick in the bit of banter is that, one, we're getting a ton of new followers, which is just always awesome. So if you guys haven't followed us on Instagram at True Crime Banter, please do, because what we mostly post is, actually what you mostly post is missing people or unsolved crimes. And it's
I try to do like missing children more often than not. I kind of just want to like use any kind of platform. I've mentioned this before. I know we're small, but if I can just get pictures out there and circulate anything I can, you just don't know who it's going to reach.
Yeah, exactly. And so that, I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I think so too.
I think our followers can agree. So yeah, well, there is today's bit of banter. I'm sorry, Jeffrey Bezos.
Take a back seat this time.
not today, buddy. Well, if you want, would you like to go ahead and begin?
Sure.
Ooh.
So this case, like I said before, is about 27-year-old Sasha Samsudean. She was a social media manager for an Orlando real estate agency, and she was known to be super bubbly, great with people, and like wicked smart. I'll post pictures of her on our social media like I do with all of our cases, but if you're like me and you like to kind of get a visual for what you're about to listen to for the next 30 to 45 minutes, whatever, I do this all the time. I go do a quick Google search, just kind of see what they look like. If anybody else wants to do that, you'll see that this chick is like absolutely beautiful. She's just stunning. Her coworkers have said that people often underestimated her based on her looks, but she proved people wrong time and time again, that she was more than just a pretty face.
Okay.
She loved her job, and she was a very hard worker. And something that I love to find in people that I think I also have, it seems like she had it too, was the whole mantra of work hard, play hard. Or work hard, play harder.
Yes, you definitely do live by that mantra. That is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you deserve it. So she was known to take any opportunity that came up. If she was like, everyone's going out, she's like, I'm down,
Cool.
Yeah, so at this point in her life, she had just moved into a beautiful brand new apartment at a place called Uptown Place Apartments. She was really excited about this new chapter in her life. At this point in the story, this brings us to Friday, October 16th, 2015. It was the last day of the Orlando soccer season, so Sasha was out with some of her friends, all of them wearing purple to support their team. And at the end of the evening, their team won. So, of course, everyone, like normal 20-something-year-olds, are like, let's go rage and celebrate. Yeah, so that's what they did. So they headed out that evening to a club called The Attic, where they planned on drinking and dancing, and that's exactly what they did. At about 12:30 a.m., she decided she was going to head out, so she let her friend Anthony know. It is mentioned in a couple different places that her friends were known to often separate throughout the evening and then meet up at different places.
Okay. Kind of bar hop then.
Yeah. I always thought, though, at least to me, I'm not super social. I don't go do this kind of stuff. I really never did, but I always thought you did that with people, but it seemed like they all kind of dispersed at one point. That's kind of what it made it sound like, is they would all kind of like, maybe they would meet cool people and go off with them and then meet back up later.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of a little different, because I would expect the same thing. If it's one group of people that all choose to go to the same, I guess, bars, from one bar to the next. And
right.
I guess if you're someone who's really enjoying their time, or maybe you meet somebody or a possible love interest,
that's what I was going to say, is if they are all very social like her, I could see meeting someone cool and be like, I'm just going to go hang out with you for a little bit.
All right, you move on to the next one. We'll all meet up here at the end of the night.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's what her friends thought she was going to do, but she let her friend Anthony know, I'm going to head out. So maybe it wasn't that weird when they didn't see her again later that evening. They just figured she went home maybe. So this brings us to the next morning. Anthony and her had made plans to have breakfast, but she never showed up. So he just decided to order by himself, ate breakfast, sent her multiple text messages and calls, but didn't hear back. It said that he thought she was probably hungover. So there was no really alarm bells raised at this point.
Yeah, I'm sure if you are a socialite like that and you do frequent clubs or I guess partying, that it's not technically, or I don't want to say a surprise, but it's not resort to the worst possible thing when somebody doesn't answer your phone the next morning.
Right. Yeah. So, like I said, he thought she was probably just hungover, sleeping it off. So he sent her a couple texts, couple calls, nothing. So he ate without her, went home. But kind of like you were just saying, there was no alarm bells raised. But then in the same sense, and we've heard this before, and this is kind of one of those, I don't want to say advantages, but kind of that comes with this new technology era where you do have people that are known to be on their phone.
In contact, yeah.
So when they aren't, you're able to kind of, you know
Say,
what I mean?
what's
Be like, this
going
is
on here?
weird.
Yeah.
So in that's exactly what happened here. As I told you, she was a social media manager. So it's weird when she's not on her phone. Even if she's not working, she's always on her phone. So that's kind of where like the hours went by and it's past the whole hangover or sleeping point. Even if she got up to go to the bathroom really quick and she saw a text or call, you'd think
like, hey,
maybe.
sorry or something.
Yeah.
Slept in late.
Right. Now we're getting past the point of like.
No concern.
Yeah.
To a little bit of rising concern.
So Anthony became worried and kind of raised the alarm. So this is when him and two other of her friends decided to go check in on her at her apartment. And when they arrived, they saw her car, which you might see as a good sign, right? Like, okay, she's here.
Right. She made it home.
Right. But they saw that she had a baby shower gift, that they knew she was supposed to attend a baby shower that day, and it was still in the back seat. So you could kind of take that.
So she hadn't left then.
Yeah, you could kind of, maybe she decided she didn't feel good. You kind of would think you'd start rationalizing it. She probably doesn't feel good. She probably stayed home.
Called out.
You're not thinking
said, hey,
the worst
can't make
yet.
It. Yep.
So they were like, okay, guess she didn't end up going there. Then they end up going up to her apartment, banging on her door, and don't hear anything, and still nothing. Banging on her door, waiting and waiting. So after they did that for a while, they decided they better call the cops.
Hi, I need to fill out a missing persons report. We went to her apartment to go check. She's there, and she's on.
And what is her first name?
Her first name is Sasha.
So at about 8 p.m. that night is when the cops come, and they decide to do the welfare check. At first, when I read that, I was like, 8 p.m. seems really late.
Yeah, I was going to ask
But then.
Do we know what time this phone call
I actually don't know.
Okay. So probably, I mean, if.
Shouldn't be too long after this call, right?
Right, yeah. So I'm assuming that they eventually, after hours of her not posting on social or something, then they go to the house, realize she's not home, so then they make the phone call.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this isn't like immediately when they wake up, they make the call, right? They give it hours and hours, probably sleeping.
Yeah, if you think about it, some people wake up at like 3 p.m.
No,
after
it's true.
hangovers and
exactly.
night outs like that. So it's not unreasonable to be like, okay,
and then you
she
wait
hasn't
a little
replied
bit
by 3
longer.
p.m. She's probably just getting up, and then it's probably 4 or 5 that you might be like, maybe we should check on her, and then
exactly.
All right.
So once inside, police kind of take a look around. They notice no signs of forced entry. The door has been locked, and everything seemed like it was in its place. It seemed like a normal apartment. When I saw the pictures, it was not a spotless apartment, but there was no signs of like an overturned table or paper scattered everywhere. Right. So that's when they made their way. When you enter kind of like in the kitchen area. There's a living room, then you kind of make your way around a corner to a hallway, and that's when they made their way into her bedroom. And immediately they noticed hair peeking out from underneath her duvet cover, along with a limp arm hanging out over the bed.
Oh, God.
They had found Sasha. So she had been raped, strangled, and also severely beaten. She had defensive wounds and marks appearing as though she had been restrained at some point as well. When asked, nobody in her family, none of her friends, could think of anybody who would do this. I mean, she was so well liked.
What the fuck?
I know, by so many people. And of course, last they had seen, she was partying with everybody, and they're like, I don't know what the hell happened between then and now. when examining the scene, they found some important things missing, like her phone, her keys, and the key fob to enter the building. And on top of that, never a good sign, the room smelled heavily of cleaning supplies.
Yeah, never a good sign.
No.
Because
I think
immediately you're thinking, what did you have to clean up?
right, and
with
rarely
this dead body around.
Right, rarely I think does the cleaning day ever really coincide precisely with somebody passing.
Right.
Yeah. So something we've seen that I wanted to point out that we've seen in other cases like this where a female lives alone, where you can kind of point out that something is blatantly out of place, is when you find the toilet seat up.
Okay.
And that is exactly what they find here.
Again, how many times do we have to give tips to people that are going to be criminals? If you're going to do stupid shit like this.
Right, tips, not tips. Yeah, not actually, but yeah.
Not tips, but it's just like you're already being, you're a fucking idiot if you're going to be doing this shit to someone.
Right.
But like, if you're going to try to get away with it, clearly if you're going to be cleaning stuff up afterwards.
Yeah.
Don't leave the most obvious
I know.
signs. But then again, I mean, I'm not someone
Obviously,
who would
we're
think,
glad they do.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
They found like the cabinet open with all the cleaning supplies there too. I mean, it was, yeah. So they actually were able to dust under and actually get 2 sets of prints from the toilet seat.
Okay.
So that's good. Yeah. So around her bed too, police also found a condom wrapper, and they also found multiple footprints. And by that, I don't mean like multiple different ones. I just mean a bunch of the same one. Yeah. So they got some good stuff, though, just from this little contained crime scene. They've got some good stuff to go off of, which is great because some people have nothing. So they also, of course, when they are able to get her body out of the area, they get all the DNA they can from her as well. Side note, though, on a really sad side note, the coroner said that he had never seen an internal neck fracture as bad as this one. Sheesh. So when I say severely beaten, I mean she was severely beaten. And of course, while evidence is being taken and the autopsy is being performed, police are doing boots on the ground hard work, surveying the area, trying to find witnesses, all the stuff they can do on their end, trying to get any clues or tips about how anyone may have followed her home or anything, because at this point they really have nothing. Considering that this crime scene was at her home and technically contained, first on their list was the security for the building. This was a very nice building, so that's also an advantage we have in this case too. So they were able to find videos or video cameras in the building, and on top of that, this building also had a security guard.
Okay. So you have to be with somebody that lives in the building to get in? Is that what you mean by security guard? Oh, guard or card?
Security guard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I thought you said
that's
card.
okay. No.
Like
but they did need a fob to get in.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was missing
so
from the scene.
So was there a video then of her with somebody?
We will get to that,
okay.
I promise. Right now, though, we are being introduced to the security guard, whose name is Stephen Duxbury. And when they tracked him down, it turned out that he had worked there for about 5 months. And when talked to, Stephen admitted that he did see Sasha that evening. But he didn't let her in because she didn't have an ID on her, no proof of residency, or a key fob into the building. She was able to get into the building, though, when another tenant held the door open for her through a side entrance.
Okay.
But Stephen saw this, and I guess he followed her. And when he found her, she was making attempts to enter the code on her door, but she couldn't remember it. Remember, she had been drinking.
Drunk.
Right.
Yeah. And you said they don't have any her keys or the key fob, the security fob, or to get in, right? They couldn't find it in her apartment. So it's all kind of lining up that maybe she left it at a bar or something,
right. Yeah, because she didn't have her phone either.
Okay.
No one to call.
So nothing too weird out of
Not
just somebody
so far,
that just had a
right.
crazy night so far.
So then she asked Stephen if, when he found her at the door, right? She asked him, can you escort me to my car in the parking garage? Because she's like, I swear I live here. Like, my car's here, everything.
Right.
Like, I just need to find a way to get in. Can you take me in a car? And maybe my key fob is in the car. And according to Stephen, once outside, she suddenly remembered the door code and, bolted back in.
And we didn't even go to any car because maybe 5 steps out. She's like, wait, I think I remember the code now. I then bring her back to the thing. She starts trying to punch in codes again. Still not working. At this point, I'm like, I gotta keep doing my job. So I'm gonna go do another suite. And if I come back and you're still not in your apartment, we're gonna have to figure out how to deal with the situation.
So I know the audio there is...
Yeah, a little tough to
He's talking kind of
make out.
fast, right? Yeah. But the general idea is basically what I just said. He gave the same recap. He walked her outside. She suddenly claimed she remembered the code, bolted back in. She kept attempting, and he said something along the lines of, okay, well, I still have to have a job to do, so I'm going to go back up front. I'm going to come back in a little bit, and if you're still trying to figure out how to get in, we're going to have to take the necessary steps to do so.
Right, yeah.
So that's kind of where we're left off with that. After coming back a little later, according to Steven, he said she was gone. But then he said he saw her again and noticed that she was in the company of an quote-unquote unknown man this time. He said he didn't really pay them any mind, any attention, because they weren't doing anything wrong or anything suspicious. So he went on his way, and at this point, police are now following this lead of an unknown man. They're like, oh, jackpot.
Yeah.
Let's see,
There's
right?
our guy.
Right. So this brings us to the surveillance footage. Police are now trying to track down any footage they can of Sasha before she gets home. Maybe somebody was following her, maybe getting something.
Waiting for her.
Yeah, waiting outside on a side. Like, who knows, right? They're trying to get anything. Now, remember that this evening is also like a crazy soccer night, right? People are in the streets and it's warm out, it's crazy. Right, exactly. People are out celebrating the streets and the streets are filled, but somehow they were able to zoom in, find her, hone in on her in a crowd of people. They were able to find her. She was wearing white jeans and a purple top. She had long dark hair, and they found her walking.
Which is, I mean, that alone is like amazing.
Right.
Just technology nowadays that, and some people will be like, oh, Big Brother, the government's watching us, this and that. It's like, well, then throw away your smartphones, you know? Like,
right,
stop complaining about stuff.
Yeah,
and then
you're complaining on your iPhone.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
So, well, cool. I mean, I'm glad to hear that they could
miraculously,
home in on her.
right.
Yeah.
So they find footage of Sasha on her about half-hour walk. They were able to time it, about a half-hour walk back home. And for most of it, she's alone until they spot her with two individuals. And it's hard to make out if they were male or female, but once they put the footage out there, they were relieved when two women come forward and tell police that they were the ones with Sasha that evening. So they said that they saw her walking that night and that she could tell that she was heavily intoxicated. And they learned that she had no ID on her and no phone. So I put in all caps on here, right? In my notes, I put all caps, female power. Like, I love this, that, like, other girls are like, that girl looks drunk.
Yeah.
She's by herself.
Taking
like,
care.
Let's see if she needs anything. I fucking love hearing that. They said that they were concerned for her and her safety, so they actually shared an Uber with her. And they decided to drop her off where she lived.
Okay.
Make sure she got home okay. So when the Uber stopped at a light, they said Sasha darted out of the Uber, pointing at the building, rushing, and being like, that's where I live. And she like ran out and ran up to the door. So the women were waiting in the car until she got in. They wanted to make sure she was fine. But as we know now, she had no ID, no key fob, no phone, no anything, right? Yeah, so she couldn't get in. So this is when Steven came out, the security guard, and he let all of them know. So they actually came out and like joined her. And he let all of them know he can't let anybody in without ID or proof of residency. So the two girls were like very concerned for her. Like, what is she going to do then? So they're like kind of talking to Steven about this. Like, what are we going to do with her if she can't get in?
How do we get her in there then?
Yeah. So just then, this is when a resident came out and held the door for Sasha, and she entered, which we already know from his account. And the security guard kept talking to the girls for a little and then went inside to find Sasha. So the story seemed to match up pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, pretty spot on.
And this part of the story is coming from the security footage that they've seen, and did they track down those girls?
So this is Steven's account and the two girls' account.
Okay, so they did track down the two girls, and these are the girls telling what happened on their end. Okay.
Yes.
All right, just wanted
so
to clear that up.
So on Steven's side right now, where he's left off is he saw her with an unknown male. That's who they're trying to track down. And then the girls basically solidified she got home. You're right.
Yep. Follows.
Right.
Everything matches up with what the security guard said.
So this brings us to potential suspects. Police found Sasha's iPad in her place, and it was linked to her phone. So this is like the closest they could get to finding her phone. Right. So they are able to look at recent texts and calls, determine if there was any helpful clues or anything, and they were able to identify one man Sasha had been seeing named Ben. They had actually been texting that evening while she was out, but the text kind of trailed off.
Yeah. So
later that evening, she ended up just texting him the word Ben, and then nothing.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, I mean, if she's drunk at some point,
That's right. That's what I'm thinking.
Ben.
How many drunk
Like,
texts have I sent out?
yo.
I mean, yeah, kind of.
You've texted some weird things to me. when
No,
you've
I
been out
know.
with your
Some
sister.
just random
Yeah.
letters. I mean,
So, okay.
at least she was able to type his name.
Yeah,
you know?
all right.
So,
And it's nothing too weird. It's just
Ben.
Ben, yeah.
Exactly. Not like help or anything.
Yep.
Right. And then, of course, nothing after that. But Ben was able to give them his DNA. He had no problem. And he had an airtight alibi. So he was ruled out very fast.
Cool.
So we can move on from Ben now. So someone else that they had gained interest in from her text messages was an ex-boyfriend of hers of 2 years named Taylor. When interviewed, he had said, "I always thought one day we might get back together." And he seemed very distraught over this whole murder.
Yeah.
And that evening he was working at, he had a bartending shift, and the whole restaurant could account for him, his boss,
Yeah, I'm sure
coworkers,
there's
everything.
security footage on
Multiple
there, too.
witnesses, right?
Yeah.
And along with that, he had no problem giving up his DNA and did not match. So,
Do
yeah.
we know at this point if there's any description of this unknown gentleman that she was with?
not that he gave, and
Just said she was
yeah,
with some dude, didn't
Yep.
really pay any attention to it.
right.
Which, I mean, I don't know how the story ends yet, but if you're a security guard,
I know, I thought about
I'm
this
thinking,
too.
like,
If you're worried about Sasha, who's trying to get in, who's like a small little lady,
yeah, and you know she's like blackout drunk pretty much.
honestly, too, you probably, if you worked there for at least 5 months, I would have guessed you would have seen her.
yeah,
Like, and she's
Most people
absolutely beautiful. I feel like somebody like that would kind of stand
would
out.
have picked up that.
And I get
this
you
is
have to
her.
do your job, and you can't let them in if they don't have it.
Yeah.
Even though she looks the same as she did when she left this morning, you know she
Yeah.
lives there. So you're right. It does seem weird that you're like, oh, she's with a guy I've never seen. She's fine.
so drunk that she can't remember her code to get into her door. But I'm glad she's with some dude
A stranger,
now.
right?
Like, I don't know who he is, but
Yeah.
whatever.
So
All right, we'll continue.
yeah. So at this point, during all of this hot mess of interrogating and trying to track down footage, Sasha's family is holding her funeral. They had a private ceremony for Sasha that blended Hindu, Islamic, and Christian practices. One of her coworkers was stated as saying, "I always knew that she was well-liked and popular, but I wasn't aware of how big of an impact she had on people until I saw the enormous turnout at her funeral." So we've already touched on she's popular, well-liked.
Yep.
She's great with people. She was a great friend. So I just kind of wanted to just touch on the actual funeral
Yeah,
part
I
really
mean,
quick.
that
I mean, it was said to have like
highlights
hundreds
how-
and hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah, that highlights how impactful she
Yep,
is on people's lives, which
right.
just makes things even worse. You know,
Yeah.
knowing that.
I mean, it's sad regardless, but
yeah, it doesn't matter how many people, if anybody shows up.
Yeah.
But I mean, when there's this many people involved or affected by it, it's like,
Yeah.
well, damn.
Right. So behind the scenes, during all this is going on, the police had just gotten their hands on the CC footage from Sasha's building.
Okay.
It had taken a little while to obtain because it was saved at an off-site area, so this was now their chance to comb through the footage for anything to help them. I'm sure they would have loved to get their hands on this sooner, but it was just one of those
Yeah.
things that like was delayed kind
yeah,
of
you,
because
you
of
don't have a choice.
details, right, warrants, all that stuff. So one of the first things they saw was Sasha heading in through a side entrance at about 1:46 a.m.
Okay.
and an unknown male coming in behind her. You see them go out of sight, but the audio can pick it up. If you go watch the video, I can always link it in our little box or whatever, but you can hear it pretty clear. After they go out of sight. And it picks up the male asking her, "Are you okay?" And you can hear Sasha say, "Yes, thank you." And I put an asterisk, cheery voice, you know.
Yeah.
And if you listen to anything that, like, she has, like, footage out there because she's a social media manager. She's so bubbly and, like, she's like this little, like, fairy pixie. Like, she's just, like, this little happy, like, she's so cute. And so when I heard it, I'm like, oh, my God. She's like, "Thank you." Like, so cute.
Of
I'm
course.
good. And then the guy responds, "No problem." And then they seem to part ways. So about 20 minutes later, and I put in parentheses, unsure where she is during that time, possibly
Yeah.
drunk, stumbling, I don't know. She's out of sight for 20 minutes. You see her in the next shot on another camera in what looks like a stairwell,
Okay.
rounding a corner, kind of skipping up some stairs, just making her way up. And about 2:06 a.m., you see her running up more stairs. In the video, it doesn't look like she's running from something, but it's kind of like a little cute hop skip kind of thing. Like she's
Okay.
just like, la la la, going upstairs.
Yeah.
Trying my hardest when I'm drunk to get up the stairs kind of thing.
Which this is like you're getting into more of the details of what is happening, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And like the further on or furthermore you're getting into this, my stomach is like wrenching a little bit because obviously, you know, we're getting into the good stuff,
Well, quote unquote, right? Yeah, yeah.
But for me, it's like you're giving these details about she's just a girl that was just having a good time, you know,
right.
even in like a shitty moment where you're like, I'm home, but I can't get in.
Yeah.
You know,
she's
just
still like
no,
making the most of it.
See ya,
I'm
you know,
good.
yeah. Just kind of
Right.
probably playing her own little like hopscotch game in her head, or
kind of like, this sucks, but I'm gonna figure it out. Like whatever.
Yeah, like whatever.
Yeah.
Just another party night, I guess. But I'll let you continue. But it's like I'm getting like a worse and worse feeling about it because you're seeing.
Well, we know what happens, right?
You're hearing about the things that led up and how seemingly happy-go-lucky she was.
Yeah, like a normal night. Yeah, so like I said, she's kind of like cute little hop skip up the stairs, and then right after she goes out of frame during this, you see the security guard, Stephen Duxbury, right behind her going up the stairs. So this kind of reminds me of, not reminds me, but if we reference back to when he's telling a story, he said that he saw her come in the building through a side entrance, and he kind of went after her to see what she's doing. So that's kind of where my mind goes, is he's doing his job. He sees her. He's like, oh, fuck, let me go see what she's doing. So anyway, so just as he had mentioned, like I said, I put this in here. You see him walking down the stairs around 2:25 a.m., presumably to get her keys from her car, since we know that she wanted him to escort her down there.
Yep. And so she's with him walking downstairs?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and you see them, and she's like, la, 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 and he's just like walking behind her, blah, 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 like, all right, let's go do this. And you see them head into the parking garage. They just head out these 2 double doors, and for like 10 seconds, they disappear out of view. Then you see them reappear because if you remember, Steven said Sasha suddenly remembered the code. So she's like, oh, turns around real quick. So they're out of sight for like not even any time. So everything is matching up so far. It shows them heading back up the stairs about 2:27 a.m. So this is all happening within minutes. At this point, the police are still searching for this unknown male because everything is kind of syncing up with this guy.
That's where I was going to say there's the unknown male that he brought up. Sounds like it could have been the guy that was like, hey, can I help you? And she said, no, thank you. But it doesn't sound like he was around to see that.
Because then after
male.
that, you see her alone on footage for the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, clearly he didn't follow her or anything. So they comb through tons of footage, but everyone in the videos is accounted for. They comb through hours before, hours after, and everyone there lives there. Everyone there has alibis. Like, they're doing their job. They appeal to anyone to come forward if they saw anything or heard anything, but nothing. So police just keep going through the footage, and then at about 6:30 a.m., they see a familiar face walking down the hall carrying what looks like white garbage bags. Our dear protector, Stephen Duxbury. It shows him walking out onto the second-floor parking garage where his car is parked and returning a couple minutes later without the garbage bags. I put eyebrow raise in.
Rightfully so, because what's going on here, Steven?
Yes. Where did those white garbage bags go?
Yeah, is this just part of the cleanup crew and security?
Right, so hold on. So this strikes police as very odd because he had told police that his shift ended at 6 a.m. So what are you doing there?
For another half hour.
For another half hour. Second eyebrow raise I put in asterisks.
So you went from the rock eyebrow to like surprised eyebrow.
They even said that they checked if this was part of the security guard's job because they're like,
do you do some sort of cleanup or like closing duty, I suppose?
So police initially were like, okay, nothing weird about garbage bags. So, didn't even look like they were that full. But they checked, and it is not part of the security guard's job. So ding, ding, ding. Now they're like,
what's going on then?
So I put this in here, questioning this because it said in the documentary that police recognized the trash bags as the same from Sasha's apartment.
Oh.
I don't know how you can do that when they're just white and you're seeing them from 50 feet away on a CC.
Yeah, it
white
would be
garbage
tough.
bags versus white garbage bags.
You're right. The only thing I can think of is even with us here, some of the garbage bags we have back black wrapping,
certain,
like the color of the band that you cinch, I suppose.
And maybe this is something that they DNA tested later, or like, you know how you can match like serial numbers from stuff bought from the same box? But they said it at this point during it and not later when they traced it. I don't know. They just said it like they recognize it on the video.
Yeah, and I'm sure this could be the instance where when the police are talking about this in past tense now,
right?
That they know that these are the
right. So they're
just saying these garbage bags match the same ones,
right?
And they're not saying that at the moment we knew, but
yep.
this is the moment we first saw them.
Yes. So take the whole like weird timeline where Steven said he was off at 6, then he was there for another 30 to 40 minutes, plus the garbage bags was not part of his duty, plus they were matched to be Sasha's, and you're able to get a search warrant now.
I was going to say, and no unknown man
unknown
that's
male,
still
right.
with her. Like,
exactly. So now Steven is officially on their radar. He was asked to come in and take a polygraph, and during this, he was asked if he had ever set foot inside Sasha's apartment. He said no, but the polygraph indicated deception. Steven was asked if he knew how she died, and he answered no, also indicating deception. As we know, of course, polygraphs can't be used in court, but it did give the police a good read on him.
Yeah, it kind of solidified what they're going after, which again, I mean, and you hear this, we've heard this on other podcasts that we listen to, and I subscribe to the same theory where a lie detector test is just never a good idea, especially if you're innocent, because all it does is if for any reason they detect deception.
Yeah.
That gives them more suspicion into what's going on.
And
so
of course,
you can't gain anything from passing a lie detector, but if you fail one, it's like, all right, send the hound dogs kind of thing.
Right, and we've learned over the years that anything can make that weird deception happen, nervousness.
Exactly. There's a reason it's not allowed in court, because it's not as accurate as you would prefer it to be.
So inside Steven's apartment, they found shoes that matched the prints by Sasha's bed. I know.
Typical.
On top of this, the fingerprint under the toilet seat matched the right thumb of Steven Duxbury. I put in all caps at this point, gotcha, bitch.
Fuck you, dude.
I know. And just to top it off, because he's a disgusting, flaming pile of garbage, the DNA on her chest also belonged to him. Double gotcha, bitch. Yep. Of course, once they narrowed in on Steven, they searched his phone history, and they found a Google search at 5 a.m. the morning of her murder. So not long after they were seen on video. Yeah. What? Tell me what you think.
I was going to say how to clean up a murder or something.
No, actually, how to override a quick set keypad lock.
Oh,
because it was it wasn't like a key turn you can like jimmy. It was like
Okay, which
the very lock she had on her door, the exact same brand.
That's interesting though, because I'm thinking your security, if there's a threat or something, or you get a call, like if there's a 911 call, she's like in danger at home alone and she can't get up to open the door, how are you going to get in? Usually you would have security open it for you, or some sort, like a master key or a master code.
Yeah.
So you'd think he would know it, but the fact that he had to like do a quick Google search.
Yeah, I don't know if they had, I think that's more of like a super thing, like a superintendent kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like whoever's in charge of the building, not maybe security.
Right.
I'm kind of glad though that they're not just giving out these keys to people.
Yeah,
I'm
not
glad.
giving out the keys, but it also makes you wonder if you can just Google search.
I know,
master
sketchy, right?
access code.
I know. We'll kind of get into that a little bit later. This whole key lock is a fiasco, but police found it really hard to believe that the man who had been so helpful, who was like, "Yeah, I'll come in anytime you want, and I'll tell you all my story again," and was the same dude this whole time.
He really thought, I'm a genius and I'm going to be able to get away with this.
Yeah, and you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he also thought, like, I'm just like you guys. Like, I'm in security. I'm in law enforcement. Paul Blart.
Yeah, exactly. Usually that is these types of guys. Typically, where if for some reason, whether it was a previous incident that you got in trouble for in the past with the law, like you're not able to be a cop, so the next best thing is security guard, or you are a piece of shit and you're like, how can I get some sort of power that I can try to abuse?
Exactly.
And I'm gonna say this guy's probably both of those, but mostly the piece of shit.
So you have all this evidence, right? You have the security footage of no unknown male. You have the garbage bags. You have the fingerprints. You have the DNA. You have everything. So this is obviously our dude.
17th, Sasha Samsudean was found murdered in her apartment. Today, our detectives have arrested Steven Duxbury, the security guard from Uptown Apartments, in connection with this case. Stephen Duxbury is charged with first-degree murder, sexual battery, and burglary to an occupied dwelling. As a security guard, he used his access to prey on someone who was very vulnerable. Our hearts go out to Sasha's family. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. And we hope that this will bring a little bit of closure or start the process of closure for this family.
Police believe that when Sasha came home that morning, Stephen saw an easy target. After she was in an apartment, he broke in, sexually assaulted her, beat her, and killed her. Then he used her own cleaning supplies to try and get rid of evidence.
Can we just add real quick that
Yeah.
he's just a fucking piece of shit?
I know.
Like, I'm sorry.
I know. You see him too, he's like this fucking, he's kind of tall, but he's like, to me, he's like, he looks little. He just looks like a little fucking rat. Like he's, obviously we'll post pictures and stuff, but he's just like a little kid that looks like he got caught doing some bad shit and he's like, fuck. Like, I don't know. Like, he just looks like a little fucking turd.
I don't understand why it ever like, there is so much, obviously these people are fucked up in the head to be
Did you think you were going to be able to keep doing this? Was this like a thing you plan on like to do
right,
again?
but I'm just like, I don't care where you live. There's places that if you want to have sex with somebody, you can pay.
Literally pay. Yeah, right.
So, and risk your, I guess, freedom doing that and getting caught and going to jail or paying a small fine for that. Like, I don't understand how it gets to this point where people are just like,
I'm guessing it was just like they said, they saw an easy target after spending that time with her, walking her up and down the stairs, and he probably realized she's really fucking drunk. This will be easy.
Right, but like, but to get to the point where you're breaking her neck and such a vicious...
that part, the overkill, I mean, I'm not sure, but obviously after you sexually assault her, some people are like, I have to kill you.
How do I get away with it?
Right, I have to kill you now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I'll let you continue. I know. Things like this.
We shake our head every time. It's, So this brings us to the trial. I don't like the trial part of it too much. It's not that, unless something super crazy happens.
Yeah,
but,
something.
Right, but I won't go too far into it. But in 2017, Stephen's trial started. And like I said, I won't get too far into it because it gets kind of messy and confusing. But basically, for a while, his team tried to get evidence thrown out and basically just like, I was coerced and like, all that kind of stuff and whatever. Just like a little schemy shit. And it was a lot of back and forth, but in the end, the judge was like, no, we're going to use all the evidence. Like, nice try.
Good.
Like, you're terrible. But his defense argued there wasn't any footage of Stephen actually entering her apartment, and the police never tested his clothing. But it was like there was so much DNA and stuff that even the judge was like, what are you even trying, like, to do anything for? So following a 7-day trial and 4 hours of deliberation, Stephen was handed a life sentence without the possibility of parole. And when given the chance to speak, Stephen, of course, declined because he's a piece of shit. They all do that. When interviewed, Sasha's parents expressed their sympathy for Stephen's mother. Of course, like, I'll put a little clip of them talking on but they're like the sweetest people.
Yeah.
Sasha's parents are just like so cute and so kind, and they're just like so empathetic to like the whole thing. Like, it didn't need to be like this. Everyone's a loser in this situation.
Right, because I mean, you hear it all the time when family murders, I suppose, where, a family member kills another family member or something like that, where it's like not only was a life lost in the sense of death, but his parents are losing their son for life.
Exactly, and that's what they pointed out.
Yeah, it's
two people are losing their kids. Yeah. So another side note, once again, I'm not going to get too far into it. It's not a huge part of it, but Sasha's parents ended up filing a lawsuit against the company that hired Stephen. And I think we hear this sometimes where some people do it out of like trying to kind of get like somebody needs to be held accountable for their kid's death. Some people do it to kind of feel better about it. Someone needs to be held accountable for this. Maybe not being able to cope with the fact that their kid's gone, and it just kind of is. Yeah, because I'm
not going to sit here and be like, oh man, now they're just trying to get as much money as they can out of it. No, it is literally, you lost your daughter, and now you don't know what to do with your life. And you're, like you said, there's somebody that was obviously convicted for this, but there's other people that, who knows, could be responsible, because we don't know what his resume was, and if they knew that he had previous, and if it's fake, obviously that's still on him. But if there is any reason to suspect that he's probably not a good fit, as a security
But
guard,
you're right.
then
He
they
might have
should
had
know.
a record that wasn't public. I don't know. But on top of that, they also filed a lawsuit against the lock company, which is what I was talking about earlier.
Okay,
That
thank
we'll get back
God.
to that.
That's
Yeah, the lock company that was on Sasha's door claiming it was defective, and if it wasn't for that, Steven would not have been able to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And in the courtroom, they brought up a document that actually there was actually articles put out about this lock, this specific brand of lock, and how easy it was to hack.
wow.
And I don't.
And
Who
it's
knows if
probably
the
cheap and affordable.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, so that was, I just thought that was interesting, that that's one more thing that if it wasn't for that, you know.
There's so many, not so many, but there's one really easy way to be like, hey, she'd still be alive right now. And that's
Yeah.
if you couldn't just Google how to get
Yeah.
into her apartment. Like,
Right. Because obviously, if you wanted to try to do anything, it would have had to have been in her apartment. There's cameras everywhere. There's people live outside in the hallway. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, they live out. Like, it would have been harder. So obviously, of course, his only opportunity is inside of her apartment. And
Yep.
he knew she was probably going to be passed out. But anyway, back to where we are now. But in 2019, Steven actually filed an appeal, and thank God it was denied. Since this terrible tragedy, Sasha's parents have worked alongside the Orange County Sheriff's Office to help other family members affected by grief and loss as well. Her parents say that they help people, but also through the process, they help themselves too.
Well, good.
So, you know, there's
I mean,
kind of
that's-
a
yeah.
little light at the end.
Obviously, it's not
Yeah.
good that they're doing this or having to
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear that, they are finding some way to cope with it or bring something good from it,
Yeah.
I suppose. So,
Yeah.
wow. Well, again, what a just piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it's, you're getting it more and more, at a higher level of authority. People like this that like to take advantage of
Yeah.
not just people that are incapacitated, I suppose, or in a bad situation, but they think they have the right to because they're wearing some sort of little badge.
Mhm.
And it's like, you're a fucking piece of shit. I
Yeah.
don't care what you've
It makes sense though
done
because
for our country or anything. You're a piece
Yeah,
of shit if
yeah.
that's the shit you do. Like,
exactly, yeah.
You can't
and for how long
reverse
have
that.
people been able to get along with it? So it makes sense why people think they can get away with
Yeah,
it too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, wow. I don't even know what to follow up or end this with.
Yeah.
Again, it's a situation just
Yeah.
like the last one where it's a bad thing, that bad timing. I mean, there's so many things that had to add up on there.
I know.
Like you said, with the lock, with him just being able to think.
Yeah, like
to
an
even
opportunity
Google that,
kind of thing
and
too. But you know what? I kind of like to think of like at the end of this, of course it's sad, but also there are some positives. Like it was nice to know that there were other females looking out for her.
yeah.
You know, they tried during it too. I can only imagine how bad they feel like, fuck, we tried.
Yep,
and then on
other
top
females.
of that, yeah, and then on top of that, her parents, you know,
Yeah.
are now helping other people who had to go through stuff like this
And,
too.
as unfortunate it is that she lost her life in this situation,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously I'm sitting here saying, well, why did he have to go so far and be so viciously brutal with
Yeah.
what he did to her? But it could have been a situation where it was a quick, rape or something. And with
Yeah.
her being so drunk, he might have been able to get away and
Yeah.
not been caught.
Right.
And could
Which
be
would have
doing
been
this
awful.
to other
Exactly.
girls and working in multiple different complexes
Yeah.
throughout different nights
Yeah.
doing this
Who
thing. So
knows?
it could have
You
become a
could
thing
take
of
it
his,
so
but
far. Yeah.
I guess that's the only
Damn.
one of the few things that are good that we can take from this.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that story to light.
Yeah, I've seen that one online a few times, and I was like, you know what? I think I need to talk about this one because it's just, I mean, they're all sad, but that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that, all she needed, I guess, was her keys or be able to get in her room
Yeah.
easily the first time,
And it's just a fun night out. You forgot your phone, your keys. We've
Yep.
all fucking done it, and it just did not end well. Yeah, it's a sad one. But
Well, on a lighter note, you guys can't see it on the YouTube video, but one, I'm looking at this and I think it looks good. But
I
two,
might be a little biased.
we've got our
but-
dog down here
Yeah, he's
sleeping
really
on his
cute.
bed.
Just
and he
take
is
our word
just,
for it. He's
yeah,
very
he
cute
is
right now.
adorable right now. And he's just a great sleeper.
He is. It's one of my favorite things about him.
He'll sleep for like 19 hours.
I know. And
of
then
the
he'll get
day.
up, drink some water, go back to bed for a couple hours. I don't know how he does it, but he
Jeez.
does. Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
well, again, thank you, and
Yeah.
thank you all for listening
Of
or
course,
watching.
we'll be
and
back soon, right, for another one.
Oh
So,
yeah, we'll be recording this once again here soon, and If there are any cases you want to suggest to us, please
Yes.
send us a message.
Please.
You've done a pretty good job of replying to pretty much
Yep.
everything. You put your eyes on everything that we get sent or
Yeah.
said on our Instagram. So,
Mhm.
and also follow us. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube if you're enjoying
Yeah.
it, because actually there is a decent amount of people that are starting to find our videos on YouTube.
Ooh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
I've been so engulfed in the Instagram part
Yeah,
of
I
it.
kind of take a lead on the video part
Yeah.
of it, and might I say,
Oh boy.
I don't know what I was gonna say. It's good to see that people are
Yeah.
being able to see it, and I'm glad to see right now that hopefully this turns out pretty good.
Yeah.
That I'm thinking. So, all right, well, thank you guys
Yeah, thank
for joining
you.
us, and yeah, my name's Riley,
And I'm Christian.
and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Take care.